Oh my God, it just changed direction. What the hell?
And I was like, so the next day I'm thinking, I'm like, well, yeah, that's weird. All the times I've had a smartphone and all the while I've had this smartphone, I've never had like 50% of my battery life just go out the window in 30 seconds.
Whoa! Whoa! What is this thing doing? Dude!
And it was seconds after where it actually goes pew. And I was like, oh boy.
Talk me through it then. So where were you and why did you get your phone out?
Sure. I was actually outside in this actually very spot, and I was outside with my 7-year-old son, and we had previously gone to a store, and he had gotten one of those LED masks that light up at night, and he wanted to wear it for Halloween. So I said, "Oh yeah, that'd be cool, buddy. We should wait till it gets dark to see what it looks like." And so we were outside, and I was just kind of sitting down and having a cigarette out here on my phone, just watching like YouTube videos and whatnot. And he was running around playing and patiently waiting for it to get darker out. And then all of a sudden he goes, "Daddy, I think it's dark enough now where we can see what my mask looks like." And I said, "All right, buddy, go get it on." And when I looked up from my phone, I just happened to it was twilight, so there was nothing else in the sky except for the moon that was out of my line of sight, and what appeared to me like Venus. That's the only thing I could compare it to at the time. I thought, well, it's probably what it is because there's nothing else, and I know it's usually like the second brightest thing in the sky. And I'm looking, and it was just up. It didn't take me much to see it. Like it was right there as soon as my head went up. It was in the sky right there. So I was like, oh wow. And I looked and I thought that's what it must have been. And then I saw it was slowly moving. And so it had my attention right away. And I said, well, maybe it's a plane to myself. And then I'm thinking, well, there's no blinking lights on it. There's no contrail. There's not even that light distant rumble that you hear from, like commercial aircraft that are, at altitude. You'll even hear sometimes. And I didn't hear anything. So I'm thinking, well, this isn't that either. And so that's when I had my phone right in my hand. And I was like, well, let me just start recording it. And that's when I did. And so I had this garage you see in the video that happened to be kind of at the bottom of the frame. It's in my foreground. And I was kind of using that as a secondary focal point to kind of see if this thing was doing anything strange. And it was. And it doesn't really translate well in the video. You can't really see it. But when I was watching it, it was doing these very subtle, like almost like S curves kind of. And that's when I was like, oh my word, it's changing direction. And that's where a lot of my friends, even I've showed them, my phone and shown them the video, and they're like, well, how did you know it was going to change direction? Because by the video, it looks like I say it changed direction before it actually does. But that's what my comment was those subtle things I was picking up that you don't really see in the video. And then it was seconds after where it actually goes pew. And I was like, oh boy.
It's not blinking like an aircraft would be blinking. What is that? Oh my God, it just changed direction. What the hell? Whoa! Whoa! What is this thing doing? Dude!
And so, yeah, as I'm getting up, I'm fumbling the phone like an idiot. And so there was at one point where I even made a point to tell the people I showed it to that, hey, there's one of these times it looks like it's moving, but it actually isn't. That's just me, fumbling with my phone. So yeah, the one you see it dart real quick the first time, that's what I picked up. And then it looks like it does it a couple other times, but it doesn't. But that's me just moving around. And then the very last part, you see it happen again, where the roof kind of goes out of view, and you see it. It was a little bit slower of movement, but it does the same direction. So that's the two things that I picked up. And The weird thing that I didn't think of, and I was talking to Nat about this when I was retelling my story to him, that I hadn't thought of in the moment, was that when I was on my phone prior and just, on YouTube and whatnot, watching, my battery life was at like 55. I think 57% was the last thing I had seen before, my son got my attention and that whole thing happened. Well, the video cuts out where it does because my phone auto shut off. My video stopped recording because my battery
Wow.
life had gone below 10%. As a battery saving feature, that's usually what most people's phones do. And I was like, so the next day I'm thinking, I'm like, whoa, yeah, that's weird. All the times I've had a smartphone and all the while I've had this smartphone, I've never had like 50% of my battery life just go out the window in 30 seconds. So
Wow.
that I thought was pretty strange. Because yeah, it picked up. I think the video ended up being what, like 28, 29 seconds, something like that. And I think it had to been in the sky for maybe another, I'd say 20 seconds at least. And then my son and I watched it just disappear out of the sky. It didn't like fly out of sight or go beyond, a tree line or anything. It just slowly faded and then went boop and was gone.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
yeah,
Incredible.
yeah, it was strange.
So what did it look like? So when we look at the footage, it's just sort of a ball of light, really, or a small kind of dot of light, I guess, and it's the movements
Yeah.
that I found really fantastic, really fascinating. What was it from the with the eyeballs when you were there, as a sort of how you experienced it? Could you make out any kind
Yeah.
of an outline of a shape or?
Just what's on the video, really. It's there was no other, protrusions or any dark features about it. It just seemed all to be one big orb of light. What I will say that was weird about the light, though, it wasn't like a shining bright light. It was like almost like it was a sphere, but it was a diffused light, almost like a like a light in a house that maybe has some of that has that like frosted glass, so you can't see in through the glass or see where the filament is. So it's almost just like one ball of light, but it wasn't so fantastically bright that it's shining rays or at you. You know what I'm saying? It's just a very soft but bright diffused light.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
weird to describe, but that's kind of what it was just a ball of like diffused light, and there was no radiating light or anything. It was just what you saw, just that
Yeah.
small like little sphere of light.
Wow.
So
So this was in, is
yeah,
it, I can't pronounce it. So it's Skowhegan,
Skowhegan, yep, Skowhegan,
Skowhegan
Maine,
in Maine.
yep,
Okay. 14th of September this year. So
that's correct,
recently,
yep,
what's been the reception
yeah.
from sort of friends and family? Have you talked about it with other people that are not necessarily interested in the subject?
Sure. Yeah, I have. A lot of my friends and family are just they're the typical like, oh, that's cool, man, or wow, that's wild, And then I got on the Facebook page for this town. They have a little community page where people just post things going on in the town or whatever. So I anonymously posted, "Hey, did anyone see anything in the sky on last night at 7:30? Asking for a friend." And so it's kind of like a joke. And I got a lot of people actually were at least, receptive to it and tried to answer it. But I had a couple of people that were, yeah, it's probably just a drone or this and that. But yeah, there were a few other people that said, yeah, I saw something above the drugstore I worked at and things like that. And then I had one other lady said that she sees stuff in the sky up here all the time. And I guess there's one that is out quite a bit that does like a figure eight type thing in the sky and then will leave. And I tried talking to her. I tried shooting her a DM, but she declined my invitation. So but yeah, for the most part, I mean, I think people are waking up to the fact that these things kind of exist and there's at least things in the sky we can't explain. So I don't, I haven't faced really harsh ridicule or disbelief, but a lot of it's more just the awe and amazement. Like, I can't believe it, you know.
Yeah, that's good
But
to hear. So things are
yeah,
kind of improving because, go
yeah,
back a few years, post something like that, and there'd be a lot of ridicule. Whereas now I think it's diminishing somewhat. Can I ask, do
yeah.
you have you had any other sightings previously? Is this your kind of first sighting?
I had one a while ago when I was in the car with my parents, and we were on the interstate. This was in Augusta, Maine, which is about, I'd say a half hour's drive from here. And we saw something in the sky. It was three lights, and they were doing these weird patterns. It almost like looked like some sort of geometric shape they were making, but there were three of them, and hard to describe, but they each had their own track, their own path, but they were all in some weird formation where they're all three of them were doing odd this odd thing that I really couldn't tell you like what it was, or if it was part of one craft, or if it was three different things, or what it was. But yeah, I had seen that. My mom and my dad saw that with me too. They don't remember it, but I remember it. Something that stuck out to me as a kid. Maybe because my dad was driving and my mom wasn't really paying attention, but they all saw something that night. I know because I remember them saying it, but I try bringing it up to them now, and they just don't remember. But yeah, that was the only other thing I've ever seen in the sky, and I thought it was strange for sure. Um, but of course, we were on the highway, so we were traveling pretty fast, so the windows were up, and it was nighttime, so it would have been pretty chilly too if the windows were down. So I didn't know if there was any sound with that, but
Yeah,
that was the other strange thing I guess I've seen in the sky in my lifetime.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask then, just because not always, but there seems to quite often be a connection between people that see things more so on a regular basis, but people that see things that have perhaps some kind of meditation in their life, spend a lot of time kind of concentrating on themselves, breathing exercises, all sorts of different things in that kind of area of meditation. Is that
Yeah.
something that is part of your life in any way, shape, or form? Don't get me wrong, it's not kind of in every case, but is that
Oh yeah,
something?
most definitely. Most definitely, yeah. I try to meditate for at least a half hour to an hour once a day, usually right before bed. When I have my boys running around, it's harder to do, but yeah, and I'm big into like frequencies and sound baths and stuff. I've been really getting into lately the past couple of years. Um, Actually, it's a kind of a thing I want to do myself, is maybe set up a shop or like a little place where I can um, have like those big like 80-inch gongs and stuff, and the crystal bowls. I listen to that a lot on my headphones too, sometimes when I'm meditating or right before I go to bed, and it's very relaxing and stuff. So yeah, it is funny. Meditation is a big part of my life. So yeah,
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I
yeah,
keep
yeah,
hearing that connection. That's amazing.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nick, I really appreciate your time, and I'm obviously conscious that I think you've just finished work, haven't you? So thanks for jumping on with me.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
thanks so much, Nick. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure talking to you as well. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.